Virtual Warriors, episode 440. Woo! As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by Viable Human, Chris Saturn.
You had to stop and think for a second.
I did. Well, I didn't hear your woo. Discord clipped it out, and I was like, just pretend, just assume the woo happened.
Roll with it.
Just
always roll with it.
Keep going. We're here. It's the Showtime episode 440. We're coming up on 444, which is going to be all the same digit, and I like those ones when they're all the same digit.
You know, the Japanese word for the number 4 is pronounced the same as the Japanese word for death. So that's an unlucky number over there.
Oh, that sounds like we're gonna have 3 4s.
Yeah, it's unlucky.
Geez, this is all sounding very dark.
I just remember in the Ju-on movies, whenever they would get a text from the ghost, the phone number that it was coming from would all be 4s.
Yeah,
because ghosts text message people. That's
well, yeah, they get good data rates because who are you gonna bill, right?
And fortunately, they're dead, so they don't have to deal with AT&T's bullshit anymore.
There you go. Yeah. If there is a hell, I think it's probably AT&T phone support. So I don't know about that.
Yeah.
We don't really have any housekeeping except that, hi, we're here. It's the holiday season, and things are weird and crazy. And I was just talking to Courtney the other day. I was like, yeah, that holiday party we went to was last weekend. And she was like, nuh-uh. And I was like, yeah, it's only December 8th. And she was like, oh, my God. So gonna make it through this month if it kills me. My week, more Linux things. Oh God, more Linux. So many hours of working on Linux web servers.
How's that going?
It's a lot. It's going. We can upload avatars to the forum now.
Yeah. And
I sent you a private message, and I think it went through.
Well, I have no private messages, but I was able to upload an avatar.
God damn it. 1 for 1. Yep. Or 2. 1 for 2.
1 for
That's
2.
how many things it was.
That's how math works.
I've also been playing. I picked up Infernax. Been playing through a little bit of that with tons of cheats on, just kind of goofing off, having fun with it.
I went back to that and got all the new achievements that they added into the game. And have you gotten the new ending for sleeping a lot?
I've gotten no endings because I always forget at the midpoint of the game. I have no fucking idea what to do, and I refuse to look it up, so I just wander around killing shit for a while.
Go to an inn and just keep sleeping over and over and over again until the innkeeper is like, there's demons out there that somebody needs to go take care of them, but I guess if you want to go back to sleep, you can. And then just keep going back to sleep, and there's a great ending for it. It's beautiful.
Also been playing some Skyrim on the old Steam Deck at medium settings. It runs at locked 60 FPS, and man, I really enjoy Skyrim. I enjoyed it the first time around. I'm enjoying it. It's
a good Zelda game. Skyrim Sword.
It's interesting coming from big open world games like Zelda back to Skyrim. Because there's things I really have missed about Skyrim. For example, the horses. In Zelda, if your horse sees a pebble, if it sees one across
an entire into space,
an entire expanse, it's like and panics.
Yeah.
In Skyrim, your horse can walk vertically up a mountain, and it's totally. It doesn't even fucking care.
Yeah.
But if it slides a little bit, it crushes itself and dies. So don't let that happen. But I'm just walking straight up the side of a mountain to go talk to a dragon, and my horse is like, okay, here we go. Meanwhile, in Zelda, I don't even ride the horses because I have to abandon them every 4 seconds because they can't get over a stick or a pebble or, there's an arrow there. I can't walk over any of this. So it's kind of nice. Sometimes realism isn't the best choice, I think. So I also got something in the mail. This is deep rabbit hole shit. But I do like the Digimon virtual pets. I don't know if you know this about me.
I've heard.
This is something I enjoy. And in the fan community, they have invented a device called a Wi-Fi comm.
Okay.
And this is a device that is a little bigger, but the same kind of shape as a Digimon. It has a little screen on it and 3 buttons.
Okay.
And it acts as, it can emulate any Digimon device and then battle your Digimon device, because you can unlock different things by connecting with specific devices, right?
Okay.
And the idea is usually, hey, if you could, they come out in waves. It's kind of like Pokemon games. They come out in waves. Right now they're doing the Digimon colors. And if you connect your Digimon color to all the other versions of the Digimon color, then you'll unlock new backgrounds on it, right? And it's just different stuff like that. Throughout the history of Digimon, you can unlock little things by connecting to other compatible devices. And so this device is able to emulate all of those devices, but it also connects to Wi-Fi. because it has, I think, a Raspberry Pi Pico inside of it. And it can connect to Wi-Fi, and when it does, it connects to a development platform that is connected to API keys, so that then you can do real-time online battles. You can connect to the entirely fan-created Digimon World MMO game that they've built and plug your Digimon into it, and it pops up in the game world. And then in the game world, when you have a battle pop up, you connect your Digimon to your thing again, and it battles them on the internet. It's amazing.
Okay.
And you can also connect it. It'll also talk through API keys to the development platform to an app on your phone in case you need to emulate devices that maybe you don't have the keys for saved on your Wi-Fi comm. And it is.
Do you keep them saved on your phone instead?
You can. So the thing is, the way Digimon normally talk to each other is they have these two metal prongs, and I don't know how much you know about metal prongs as a data transmission method, but you can't really send a whole bunch of data that way. It's just two little pieces of tin that rub up against each other.
Right.
So they send like a short burst of data. It's like a little string of characters.
Yeah.
So the codes you need are these little strings of characters, and you can only fit like so many on your Wi-Fi comm. Or maybe you just want ones that aren't on your Wi-Fi comm. So then you go into the Python script and you add them. Anyway, it's very exciting. And the most exciting part is that I also ordered it with this little special attachment that it's like a dock that my Digimon goes into. So every time I need to battle it, I don't need to like pick it up and push it up against the little prongs. It's in this little dock, and it's ridiculous. Fully custom built, fully custom made fan hardware, 3D printed parts. This guy made it for me. I mean, I paid him for it. Like it wasn't free. And it's so cool, Saturn.
Okay.
It's so cool. It's so exciting to me. And so I've been doing Digimon stuff.
Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying your Digimans.
Oh, it's great, man. I don't know what it is, like there's something about these devices that are strictly analog, and like getting to plug them into the internet and be like, fuck you, physical world.
Well, they're definitely digital.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, they are
right
digital,
in the name.
But they they're not internet digital.
Right. Yeah, they're not internet.
It's really cool for people, because I have, in the course of the show in the Discord, turned some people on to Digimon Virtual Pets.
If they were analog, they would be Animon.
They would be.
Or maybe they'd be Analmon.
Old Analmons.
Yep.
I love these Analmons.
That's the ones that are completely operated by vacuum tubes.
Yes.
Size of a room.
I did want to say the price, because everyone's always asking me about the price. Digimon that you can get in the US on US Amazon are usually in the like $10 to $20 range, which I think is pretty reasonable for effectively a little keychain game that you put on your belt and play around with. Yeah. The Wi-Fi comm with the dock and everything, I think I paid $80. So it's steep.
If you had one Digimon and that, I would say that's a hefty investment. But when you have 35 Digimon at least,
okay, yeah,
that doesn't seem like that big of an investment. That seems like a perfectly reasonable investment.
Well, really think about it this way: if you have one Digimon and a Wi-Fi comm, you don't ever need. Because seriously, I'm not going to run into other Digimon people and be like, "Oh, I can unlock the thing I need on my Digimon." So to unlock the shit on the other Digimon, you just have to buy the other Digimon,
right,
in the wave. Well, now you never have to do that. You can just buy the one from the wave that's cool to you, and then use your Wi-Fi comm to unlock anything that you might need to unlock by connecting or jogressing across different devices.
Or there are a lot of people that probably just play with the one and that's it.
No, there isn't. Let's acknowledge this hobby for what it is. It is for obsessives.
I'm not talking about for the hobbyists. I'm just saying the people who just buy one on a whim.
I don't know how many non-hobbyists are randomly buying Digimon, but if you're out there, please, I want to know, because
Look,
that's
if there's
fascinating.
a non-hobbyist, they're not listening to our show.
Well, but maybe they're coming for their other hobby. And I'm like, hey, you could buy more Digimon, and they're like, no. It's just really cool. It's always really exciting to me to see these it's an entire fan platform. It is a full open source device that completely interfaces with an entire web development platform that these people have built just for funsies to play with their toys together. Like, that's so cool. I love this. It's those parts of the internet
Right.
that are amazing to me. You know, like
The
sometimes
ingenuity of the fan communities.
yeah, like sometimes I think we get wrapped up in like, oh, did you hear what fucking this tech billionaire did this week
Right.
to this social media platform?
Yeah.
And sometimes we forget that the internet is also a place of really amazing people doing really amazing, weird things.
Well, fortunately, we talk about that a lot in the news too. When we talk about these weird ROM hacks and
do indeed.
and stuff like that. I always appreciate that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What have you been up to, Saturn?
So, for some reason, so I've been doing a lot of job interviews the last week, which
is
has been
good.
nice.
Good.
I'm getting closer to getting a job again. And for some reason, LinkedIn sent me a gift card to Xbox.
Oh, well, there you go.
And also, my credit card sent me a gift card to Xbox.
Okay.
And then LinkedIn sent me another a gift card to Xbox.
How come this doesn't happen to me?
I don't know, but so far I've gotten $25 in Xbox money
Goddamn.
between Capital One and LinkedIn, just in the last 3 days. So I went ahead and bought some things that were on my wish list on my Xbox. I got The Messenger, which I'm replaying, which is great. I got another game that I haven't started yet, so I'm not going to mention it. And I got Mr. Driller Drill Land, which is a port of the GameCube game on modern systems.
Yeah.
And it is fun. I am really enjoying Mr. Driller Drill Land. Have you played that one yet?
That was the one that also released on Switch, right?
I believe so. I believe it's on Switch
think-
and Steam and
I think I played
PS4.
the demo, but that was it.
So it's got all these different game modes that you play, and it's laid out as if it's an amusement park that you're in that is
Oh.
vaguely Namco themed.
Yeah.
And the first area that you go to is Tower of Druaga themed. And so instead of an air gauge, you have an HP meter. And you have to dig down until you find a key and then dig over to another room to use the key to get to where Druaga is and then defeat him. And it's really neat and it's cute. And you can pick up items that you can use and stuff. But the name of that mode is called The Whole of Druaga, which sounds really dirty to me. Just saying.
That was the Compile Heart version of the game.
Right.
Later on. It's a different, slightly different version.
So there's another mode that's like a parody of Indiana Jones, I think. Only you play as Dig Dug.
Okay.
And you don't have an air meter. You have as much time as you want.
Oh, how nice.
And that's a really neat mode. But there's boulders that will crush you like in Indiana Jones. So you have to watch out for traps. It's kind of like Mr. Driller meets Spelunky as far as the traps that are in it.
Okay. Or maybe like a La Mulana or one of those
Kind of like that.
games
yeah,
where
it's-
people wear Indiana Jones hats.
Right. And have boulders crush them and spikes come out of the walls.
It's really is its own genre, weirdly enough.
But no, it's cute. I'm digging it. It's and it was on sale for $4 or something. It's
Yeah.
and I think it's still on sale right now for like $5 in the Bamco sale that was at least on Xbox. I think it's also on Steam, and potentially other platforms.
Yeah.
But it's cute. It's fun. I enjoyed it. It's worth checking out. And then I've been playing some more of Like a Dragon Gaiden.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they say this is a shorter game than the others, and it does sell for less than the others, as far as new anyway. I'm like 12 hours in, 12 or 13 hours in, and I'm still in chapter 2.
To be fair, you do play these games very slowly.
True, because I go through every single side quest the second they're made available to me.
Yeah.
And this one puts them all on the map. Like as soon as side quests are available, they put little icons on the map, and there's a menu you can go to where it shows you the whole list of them. And if they're not on your current map, it says like, "Oh, I have to go to Sotenbori to find this person."
Yeah.
And so you know that you have to go somewhere else for it. So you can immediately see which all side quests are available to you. And plus, there is the tournament and all the other little mini games and stuff. So I have wasted so much time in it, but it's still good. I'm still digging it. And then Microsoft screwed me over and banned my Microsoft Rewards account.
Oh, how nice.
It's,
Why?
I don't know. They updated their program to reduce the amount of points that you can earn by a lot. And a lot of people were bitching about it, and I noticed that when people were bitching, there were also a lot of people saying, "Well, I just got randomly banned for no reason, and they won't answer me."
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that sucks. Oh, well. And I was still trying to get what I could. And when I was trying to go to turn in some points to add them to my account, it kept failing out. I was like, what's going on? So I go to the website and it says, your account has been suspended. And so they have blocked me from it. And I have also put in 3 support requests now to ask why, because I didn't break any terms of service and they are not responding.
Oh,
So-
that's so nice, Saturn.
And I had enough points saved up for like a $50 gift card that I can't get now because they have suspended my account for no reason.
Oh, I love that happened for you.
Yeah. Thanks,
How-
technology.
Jesus
Thanks, Microsoft.
Christ.
Right. Which, it's a freebie program. I get it. It's not that big of a deal, but I would rather they communicate with me. That'd be nice. If
Yeah.
they at least tell me, honestly, I would have been happier if they'd just been like, we're shutting down the program because it's costing us too much money. I'd have been
Right.
like, that sucks, but I get it, whatever. Instead, they're reducing the values to the point where you can't earn anything and banning a lot of the most regular users of it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of shitty.
Yeah.
But I
It's
did
a little more than kind of shitty.
right. I did start the new Dragon Quest Monsters.
Yes, I have as well. I forgot to mention that. I'm like right outside the tutorial.
Oh, okay. I'm in the second zone now,
Mhm.
Nadiria, and it's Dragon Quest Monsters. It feels pretty simplistic. Like it feels like there's a lot of story points that it just kind of rushes past.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like-
even the opening is like, here's huge amounts of story.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah, and it just dumps it on you, but it doesn't even like spell it out in these extra long cutscenes or anything. It's just like, this all happened, the end, and now it's your turn.
Yeah.
And it's kind of jarring. I would say it feels like it's half done, but so many other things in the game feel like they're half done. But the actual core gameplay loop of, capture monster, fight monster, etc., is fine. That part seems to be great. It's especially the graphics feel super janky to me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pop in, a lot of dropped frame rates if monsters are even a little bit away from you. They run at like 5 frames per second.
Yeah, it feels that's kind of why I put it down and wasn't like super stoked on it.
Yeah.
It felt kind of technically
Cheapy.
a little jank.
Yeah.
But then in other aspects seems kind of overdone, like a lot of voice acting.
Yeah.
Huge amounts of
surprising amount
voice acting. And
Good
then
quality voice acting too.
very uneven, I think,
Yeah.
is how I would probably describe it. It's
Yeah, it
kind
is.
of very strange.
And it's frustrating that games like this and like Pokemon have had some graphic issues on the Switch when Dragon Quest XI looked fantastic on the Switch.
Yeah.
So we know the system can do it,
Yeah.
but they're not.
Yeah. Well, it takes
So.
effort, Saturn.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Let's do the news.
Okay.
Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer leaked a day early, so Rockstar just went ahead and released it because fuck it. Here's the fucking trailer.
Yeah, it's out there, whatever.
I love that it leaked because they kept
Yeah.
announcing the announcement of the trailer being announced, and then
Yeah.
someone's like, "Here it is."
Well, like a day or two before it was supposed to release, somebody released like the entire game map, but like on shaky cam footage, and you could see the entire game's game map. And it was apparently the kid of somebody who was given a test copy of the game or something.
Yeah.
And then a few hours or a day after that, somebody was like, "Oh, I have the exact timestamp of the trailer, and here's a bunch of pictures from it." And then a little bit after that, somebody was like, "Here's the entire trailer," and so they just like released it.
The internet collectively lost their minds about
Yeah.
this pre-rendered trailer for this game, and
Yep.
I'm very excited that people are excited.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed the campaign of Grand Theft Autos 4 and 5. I'm waiting to see the pricing structure of this. I don't think it's going to be advantageous.
I had a little bit of fun with Vice City in 3,
Yeah,
but
and this
not
one seems
enough
to be in the same Vice City vein.
I don't know. It doesn't to me. Like it's taking place in Vice City, but it doesn't look or feel like Vice City to me. It feels modern and gritty and sad like the ones after Vice City.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
going to sell the best ever in the history of games.
Probably.
Pyron, the indie hobbyist who was able to get Marvel Superheroes running on Genesis, now has Earthquake from Samurai Showdown functional on Genesis.
And
So that's cool.
you know Samurai Showdown.
I do
Earthquake-
know Samurai Showdown. He's massive.
Yeah, he's an
huge.
enormous character.
He's a gigantic sprite.
And he's got two earthquakes fighting each other on a Genesis. That was, if for people who remember Samurai Showdown on Genesis, there's one character missing, and
Yeah.
it is Earthquake. And he has proven Takara or whoever handled that port that they were incompetent and
Yeah.
needed to find this guy 30 years in the future to handle that port.
Eclipse, a prototype demo that Argonaut showed off to Nintendo that led to the creation of X and Star Fox, has been found and preserved by the Video Game History Foundation. This is it's kind of a famous story in Argonauts and Nintendo's history.
Right.
So it's cool that this was finally
Yeah.
found and preserved. I'm excited to see that.
So glad the VGHF is out there.
Sony is removing paid content from users' libraries due to contract agreements with Warner Brothers Discovery, and also took away people's game libraries for a few hours due to an issue with PSN reporting that people's accounts were banned, because not only are they going to just fucking take things away from you because they don't have the wherewithal or the foresight to put in place meaningfully any kind of contracts for content that you paid your money for, but also they just can't run PSN for shit, apparently.
Yeah,
Just like apparently Microsoft can't run their fucking rewards program, apparently.
And it's frustrating because like I almost understand this issue with Warner Brothers Discovery. I don't like it. I think it's bullshit, and I think they should have negotiated a better contract so that they don't have to do this. But that is technically out of their hands. That they are being forced to remove content that they shouldn't be removing. But the other thing with them just revealing this is what's going to happen at some point when we arbitrarily decide we don't like you, that's I don't understand how people can justify still buying digital full price products at this point.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't make sense.
No, it's infuriating.
EA is laying off much of Codemasters' staff less than 3 years after acquiring the studio, because fuck the people that make games, I guess.
Yeah.
Fuck you, people that make games. Love EA.
Remember the early EA ads that were like, we're all about the artists?
Oh, yeah. Where they're like, we take games seriously, and the creators and the people that make them. Now they're just like, yeah, we guess you're fired. I don't know.
Yep.
Blast Arena, a new arena shmup, has been released for the Sega Master System.
It looks really neat. I haven't gotten around to trying it yet, though, but it does look really neat.
A demake of Wolfenstein 3D has been released for the Arduboy FX, which
in case
is a
you wanted to
system-
see Wolfenstein 3D in 1-bit graphics.
I keep almost getting one of these, and I'm like, why? Fucking why? But it's so cool, and they've got like pre-orders on their new one that's coming out, the special edition. It's cute. I like these little tiny, goofy handhelds. 8BitDo M30 getting an Xbox release. So finally people on Xbox can enjoy the beauty and wonder that is the 8BitDo M30, which is just a great 6-button Genesis-style controller. Oh, man.
Which will be great for Street Fighter 6 on Xbox now that I think about it.
My only complaint is that games struggle to know how to map. Like the 6-button mapping is not standardized, right? So sometimes you'll be playing a Genesis game on these 6-button Genesis-style controllers. They're not mapped right.
Yeah.
I did think that. I think they included a way to flip between two different mappings, but I don't know.
I don't know if that's the case on the Xbox version of it, because all the buttons are labeled with Xbox letters and have the coloring of the Xbox controller.
It'll be a little easier to figure out.
Yeah.
Sega shows a trailer at the Game Awards that reveals upcoming entries in the Jet Set Radio, Golden Axe, Shinobi, Streets of Rage, and Crazy Taxi series.
And we've been hearing rumors about a lot of these. Not all of them. I don't remember hearing rumors about Shinobi or Golden Axe.
I don't know when the fuck Sega is going to learn how to announce things. They are notoriously bad in announcing like a half dozen fucking beloved sequels all at once in a single sizzle reel. Seems like the opposite of what you want to do.
I do appreciate how they did it, because it was just filled with nostalgia.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that it ended with the Sega Scream from the Genesis era. That's really cute. I appreciate it.
It was a neat trailer. I'm like, yeah.
I'd like a little more information.
I want to know any more information, please. Any more.
Yeah.
But still, an exciting prospect.
Yes.
Having them all lumped together makes me kind of nervous that they're going to make them some kind of like live service thing with the multiple titles. I don't know. It just
doesn't
makes me a
look
little
like
nervous.
it. From what I have been seeing in other reports and rumors and stuff, it looks like one or more of these is being handled by Lizard Cube.
Awesome. Good.
Who did Streets of Rage 4.
Lizard Cube should do everything.
Right? Yeah, they should just make all the games now.
Please, Lizard Cube.
Save us from the rest of the industry.
Square Enix announces Visions of Mana at TGA, which looks cool.
Yeah, I'm shocked to see a new Mana game. That was not on my bingo card for the Jeff Keighley Fluff Fest Awards.
And visually looks like it's just kind of in line with the first two games, and they're ignoring all of the other ones.
Yeah.
So the announcement felt like finally a third Mana game is what it felt like. You know,
it felt like it had some stuff from Trials of Mana.
Okay,
I'll give it the first 3 games, ignoring anything after that, and in a graphics engine that would fit in perfectly on a 3DS.
Yeah. Harvest Moon 64, 1080 Snowboarding, and Jet Force Gemini are all added to NSO++. So 2 awesome games. I'll let you decide which 2. All kind of the plus.
I am shocked that they negotiated out the rights for Harvest Moon 64. I did not ever expect that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one.
Right?
Also, very expensive cartridge, so cool to see it popping back up.
Right.
And finally, a new Game Boy Color RPG, Dragon Hymn, is releasing in Q1 2024. I think it was slated for this quarter, 2023. It is made by this small studio, Spacebot Interactive, that makes, from what I can tell, just bunches and bunches of little tiny Game Boy games.
Yeah. And from what I was reading, it looked like they had started in that Game Boy Studio thing, and then branched out to a little beefier tools or something.
Yeah, so they are teaming up with Incube 8 Games, who are doing the physical versions of the game.
Nice.
And the ROM is $15, or you can get the full game in a box with a manual with stickers and the cartridge and everything for $60, which is pretty fair to me for a kind of bespoke Game Boy game, right?
Does it also come with the ROM?
That's what I was going to complain about. Is it seems, at least according to the way it's set on their website, that the physical version of the game does not include the ROM, because I would love to buy the physical version to have it, but I'm probably going to play it on a Mii U Mini or my Steam Deck or something. Right. And it's kind of frustrating that I would have to then buy the $15 ROM on top of the $60 physical game.
You know, we've said many, many times that it's not piracy if you've already bought it.
Right. It's not. So that's a little annoying. I do have a backlit Game Boy Color that I could play it on, but I'd much rather have the ROM so I can use save states and such, because, but either way, it looks good. A lot of their other games look good too. A lot of these, I don't know if these studios are using like the GB Studio tools that came out not long ago.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying. From what I was reading, they had started with that and then moved away from that tool as they continued development.
Yeah. Now, I just love that it became a thing, that GB Studio came out, that it was so easy to use, that it has led to so many cool-looking Game Boy games, and they've got some really neat-looking ones. So they're kind of on my radar a little bit. Also, Dragon Hymn, I think the demo is out now, but the game is scheduled for early next year, so people can check it out. It looks very cute and kind of Zelda-y a little bit.
I'm really excited about all these new games for old consoles. Like, I'm not necessarily excited about each individual game, but I am excited about this trend of things that, because we've been seeing like the faux retro games for a while now,
right?
But none of them really adhere to the hardware limitations of what they're pretending to be, and so I'm excited to see these games that legit play on these old consoles, just because they are having to constrict themselves to those limitations. And often that leads to a little more creativity.
Yeah. So yeah, if they're not on your radar, they should be, because they look like they got some cool stuff, and I'm probably going to check out that demo of Dragon Hymn.
Nice.
Which brings us to our topic at hand, which this week is Super Mario RPG. Finally, a reason to role play as a plumber outside of the bedroom. Who wrote these notes? What is this? Today, I'm a player one.
I was just waiting to see if you would actually read that or not.
I did. This was developed by Square, published by Nintendo. It came out in Japan March 9th, 96, North America May 13th, 96, and European territories August 22nd, 2008, because it was on the Virtual Console.
Right.
And then we've also obviously gotten the remake by Art Piazza, which is published by Nintendo. Art Piazza being the people that did some of the Dragon Quest
all the DS Dragon Quest games. And
that came out recently, November 17th, 2023.
Just a few weeks ago.
Which is the version of the game I played. Although I did play a little bit of the original, both before and after playing this remake, so I can kind of compare. As far as first encounters, Mario RPG came out when I was small. I would have been 8 years old when that game came out. And so is a little beyond me. You know, as the proud owner of an 8-year-old, I don't know. She would not be able to get
already?
through. Yeah, she just turned 8.
Holy shit!
Yeah. She would not be able to get through Mario RPG. I can tell you that definitively. And she would also have a slightly hard time reading some of it. I think like definitely a good game for like the 10 and up crowd, I think is where I would place that. So I never played it. I didn't play Paper Mario. I think Mario and Luigi was my first introduction to the surprisingly wide world of Mario role-playing games.
Right.
And I kept meaning to go back to Super Mario RPG, but it was always just a little old and ugly and clunky and weird. I know for the time it was very technologically advanced, but for me, it's kind of aged like Donkey Kong Country has. Which is to say, like, at the time it looked amazing and people were like, wow, we didn't even know the hardware could do this. And now you look back and you're like, oh.
I still think it looks pretty good. Especially for Super NES, I think it looks really good.
We'll talk about it. But I did pre-order the remake and picked that up and played through that. So that is most of my time has been spent with the remake with minimal amounts of time on the original version of the game.
Yeah.
What about you,
I played it at release. I was already a big RPG fan because I'd been playing RPGs like, probably since I was about 8 years old. Now that I think about it,
it tracks. Like she can handle like Dragon Quest 1 level kind of stuff. That's pretty much up her alley.
I was about 8 when I was playing Final Fantasy 1, I guess.
Yeah. Showed that to she's always my litmus test because she's now at the age where like I was playing games by then and sometimes it's hard to remember like you know what I mean, like what you could handle at what age and stuff.
I was a heavy reader already by that age, so I was really excited to be able to show off my reading skills through video game form. So even if it was a game that I wasn't actively enjoying in that moment, if it was something where I could show off that I could read well, I would play it even if I was not happy with it, just to try to impress. Like, I don't know who the fuck I was trying to impress, but whoever was around.
Yeah.
But by the time Mario RPG came out, I would have been 13, 14 years old, somewhere in there. And so I was already pretty well set into the RPG mindset. I'd played all the Final Fantasies that had come out here at that point, and Secret of Mana and Breath of Fire and all the Dragon Quest games and stuff. So I was pretty deep into it. So I was excited about the idea of Mario and RPG at the same time, but I was also right at that age where I was trying to grow out of things like Mario.
Yeah.
So there was the part of me that was like, maybe I don't want this, but it is an RPG.
It's a little baby game, but also...
Yeah, so I did end up picking it up and just really enjoyed it. I think it's one of those games that helped solidify in my mind that I didn't want to be the guy that grew out of stuff just because I thought it was for babies. And so it may have been one of those things that steered me in that direction to where I never became the hard edge, I'm too old for that guy in high school.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. It's a light, refreshing RPG compared to some of the other stuff on the console.
Great. Tell me how they made it.
They were at a computer.
My transition.
And there was a guy typing a lot.
Yeah. Tell me more.
No, that's it. Now, this was back when Nintendo and Square were still friends. And apparently they had agreed to work together on the project as far back as early 94, but the project itself wouldn't begin until several months into 95. I had read at one point that the team at Nintendo had wanted to make a Mario RPG, And then when they first got the first playable demo of it, they were like, why can't we just jump on monsters?
Yeah. Which
but
was a complaint that I saw in the Amazon reviews for the remake. I found a 1-star review for the remake of the game, and the person's like, it was like getting in a time machine.
Mm-hmm.
The review was written in such a way that I could tell that it was probably at least a teenager or an adult writing it.
Right.
And it was like, in this game, it's not like normal Mario games where you can jump on people. Every time you get into a fight, you have to go to a different game and pick stuff out of a menu. It sucks. And I was like,
I like to imagine that same person received a copy of Mario Kart and they're like, oh, this isn't like a normal Mario game. You just drive around.
instead of jumping on people, you drive a small car. Like, well, it says RPG in the title.
Right.
And the only thing we could deduce in this Discord server was that they thought it was Mario firing a rocket-propelled grenade.
Which
It's
is,
the only
in
thing.
fact, Mario plus Rabbids. That's a different game.
Makes no sense. So weird. Anyway.
So, yeah, the project was overseen by Miyamoto at both Nintendo and Square. He was going back and forth doing double duty. Square's objective in this was they wanted to make an RPG that could be better received outside of Japan specifically because... as we have seen many, many, many times, the Final Fantasy games did not sell anywhere near as well over here as they did back in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So they were trying to welcome in new players, new RPG players, teach them how to play and not overwhelm them with stuff. And Nintendo was most focused on ensuring that the game had that distinct Mario look and feel. They're focused on graphics, they're focused on, design, music, things like that. To
Which, if you can't tell, this is very much before Mario had a lot of
exactly
look and feel, predefined look and feel. Like, I feel like Mario 64 was when they were like,
it codified a lot of stuff.
This is Mario. This is what Mario will look like and feel like. This is our design doc for Mario visually, aesthetically.
Forevermore.
Forever.
Yeah, whereas up until this, there was still a lot of things up in the air. And this, for me, this is one of the things I love about Mario RPGs. It's like that last huzzah for the
weird
pre-codified Mario, where things were still just kind of, I don't know, maybe throw a Donkey Kong in there, but as a bad guy. It's just so weird. But yeah, the composer of the game, Yoko Shimomura, was previously composed for Street Fighter II. Mm-hmm. She had fairly recently joined Square at that point and was tasked with composing the soundtrack, though several tracks were rearrangements of Koji Kondo's Mario soundtracks, and of course 3 tracks are just rearrangements of songs from Final Fantasy IV, which are obvious when you get to them. And then the story and the original characters all needed Miyamoto's approval throughout the design process, so he did sign off on all original ideas and story and design. And apparently the localization encountered some issues because Square and Nintendo kept changing the game at the last second. And so all the things that they had ready to go kept having to be erased and redone over and over and over again. So honestly, it's pretty impressive that they got out the Western translation just 2 months after the Japanese game came out.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I mean, there's a compared to like Final Fantasy games,
right?
It's a lot less dialogue. It's a lot simpler of a game, but that's still real fast.
But it does still have some of those Woolseyisms in it.
Oh yeah, there's some weird shit.
Like Bowser says "funga" a couple of times, which is a trademark of Woolsey's translations of this era. And there's a few other like subtle references to other Square translations from before this, which are cute.
Yeah. And then they made a remake.
Yeah, it was developed by Arta Piazza, though Nintendo would rather us have not known that for some reason.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Let's talk story, and it's important to note that normally these big RPGs, which we've done an insane amount of lately, are broken up into 2 episodes.
And I would like to say that most of these have been your idea, for the record.
I know. I don't know what's going on with me, man. I don't know what's up, and I've enjoyed some of them.
Yeah, I've been intentionally not recommending RPGs just because I don't want to overwhelm you, and then you keep coming back and be like, what about this JRPG?
I mean, this year we've done Baldur's Gate, Chrono Cross, Sea of Stars, Mario RPG. I feel like there's another one in the mix somewhere. Dragon Quest 3. That was another massive one. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is happening. enjoy it while it lasts. I'll just say that to everyone. Normally, we break these up into 2 episodes, story and gameplay. This game, in addition to being pretty short, I think I finished it just under 10 hours.
Oh, dang.
Which, granted, the remake was, I think, 2 or 3 hours, according to How Long to Beat, shorter than the original.
True.
Um,
It has less load time than the Super Nintendo version.
yeah, that's probably adds up for a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I beat it in under 10 hours. The story's pretty simple, and we'll get into it later, but the game, it's just a pretty simple game.
Yeah, it's designed to be a beginner's RPG.
And I think it's not great at that. But we're going to discuss later. Let's talk story first. Peach is kidnapped by Bowser. Nobody is surprised. In the original, they call her Princess Toadstool.
True.
Still, because weird Mario era.
Yeah, this was before we were calling her Peach. We didn't start calling her that until Mario 64.
You basically show up at the end of a Mario game. Peach is in Bowser's castle. You are running up in there to kick in the door and rescue her. And right whenever you're going to rescue her, a giant sword stabs the castle right through the middle of it.
Yeah, like normal.
Everyone flies away, and when you run back to try to save her, the giant sword is like, "We're the Smithy gang, fuck you."
Yeah.
Not in so many words, but basically that.
Yeah. Then he breaks the bridge, so you can't even get to the castle.
So then you're on a quest to save Peach.
Right.
You don't really give a shit about the Smithy gang. The entire point is that you want to get to the castle and you want to save Peach because you think maybe she's still in there or maybe she went somewhere else. I don't really know where you think she went.
But at this point, Mario thinks that Bowser and Peach are still in there and that Bowser has taken back control of the situation.
So instead you meet Mallow.
Right.
Who claims to be a tadpole, but he's a cloud.
Yes.
And it's pretty obvious that he's a cloud and he just doesn't know where he came from. They lay it on real thick.
No, he's definitely a tadpole.
And he's dumb. And I don't mean that like he's a bad character.
No,
he
he
is
dumb.
Also that, but he's just really stupid.
Yeah, I think they were trying to make him feel childlike, but instead they make him feel really naive and kind of
I'm
dumb.
around a lot of kids and none of them are as dumb as this guy. I mean, stupid. So you get wrapped up in Mallow's shit. He's basically like, hey, my grandfather or whatever his name is, this cricket or frog, not a cricket.
Yeah.
He wants a cricket pie. He is a frog.
Yes.
I got it.
Yes.
He'll know what to do, but you got to help me because this thief named Croco stole this cricket pie that I'm trying to get to.
He stole the coin. He was going to buy
coin.
the
Coin to buy the pie. Because they won't take a regular coin. You need a frog coin. I don't fucking know why. But you basically go on this side mission with Mallow. You help Mallow get his coin back, and Mario returns to the Mushroom Kingdom, and it's been overtaken.
Yes.
Shy Guys are everywhere. Go ahead.
And this was really exciting to me the first time that I played this game, because this was basically the first time that a Mario game had acknowledged Shy Guys since Mario 2.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
So for me,
this been well before any other reference.
Yeah. For me in 96, I was like, holy shit, Mario 2 is canon now. And I was super excited by this whole segment.
Yeah. You go in the castle, you find out that the person directing the Shy Guys is also a big giant weapon, much like the talking sword, and you start to get the feeling that the Smithy gang is a bunch of talking weapons.
You know, I never realized that until I was playing the remake.
Like
that should be obvious. Never occurred to me all the years I've been playing this game that they're all weapon based.
They are all weapons. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did not occur to me at all.
You defeat it and you get a star.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really clear why
right
or what you're doing with them, but here's a star. Here you go.
I'd like to note that Guy just messaged us to let us know that he also never realized they were all weapon-based enemies until this moment.
Granted, the sprites are fucking weird, and we'll talk about it in presentation.
Especially on the Super NES. It was a little hard to figure it out.
It's almost like it wasn't a very good-looking game, and it was hard to tell what everything looked like a lot of the time. It's almost like that is the case, the fact that two people literally didn't know what all of the bosses were. Well, I'm just saying.
The translation was different than 2, so there's a couple of them that had their names changed to be more obviously weapons.
Yeah.
Like the first boss in this version, I don't remember what his name is, but it's something about how he was a knife. In the original, his name was Mac, in a reference to that song, Mac the Knife. Yeah. But I didn't get that connection back then, so it didn't occur to me.
Mario takes Mallow back home to talk to Frogfucius, the frog sage, and you learn that Peach and Bowser were also knocked out of the castle. Mario needs to save the 7 stars to save the kingdom. Bonus, you already have a star. Sweet.
Yeah, and also they don't call him Frogfucius in the new one. That upsets me because I love.
What do they
that
call
name.
him in the new one?
The Frog Sage.
Oh, okay. It's just
Yeah,
the frog
it's
sage.
lame.
I guess maybe they were worried about people pronouncing it Frogfuckius.
Well, now I insist on calling him Frogfuckius.
Total shot in the dark, but if I was like 12, I'd be like, Frogfuckius the frog sage. That's Frogfucius's brother. He's much less enjoyable to be around.
Yeah, he's much more aggressive about it. You go find a fucking star, man.
That's Frogfuckius. Please don't talk to him. The fuck are you looking at? So you move on. You're trying to save this place called Rosetown because there's arrows raining all over it. And on the way, you meet Geno and recover the second star. Geno is the best non-Mario character in the whole game.
I'd agree with that.
And Geno informs Mario that he's the star. He's from Star Road, which exists above the clouds, and that the Star Road has been attacked by the Smithy Gang and his gang of sentient weapons. And until the Star Road is saved and the 7 stars are returned, no one's wishes will come true. And so now you're like, well, what? All right. So they've layered this plot on top of the regular plot.
So now you have two objectives. Save Peach, save the Star Road.
Yes. But you need 7 stars for both tasks. So cool.
Well, you don't know what you'll need for saving Peach. You just know that you think she's in the castle. The Smithy Gang has taken over the castle.
Right,
Might as well knock out 2 birds at once.
But Frogfuckius is like, yeah, you get the 7 stars, you'll basically accomplish your goal.
Yeah, he did say that.
And we didn't really talk about it, but Geno is basically a star or an alien or a wish or something that has inhabited a child's doll.
That's true, yeah.
Which is weird, but okay.
And for a long time, Geno is one of the top requested characters for Smash Brothers.
I liked Geno a lot.
I love Geno.
Geno's really cool. Geno was what it felt like to me, and I know we're kind of skipping ahead. Geno felt like the character the game wanted to star. Because here's the thing. In the story so far, you've got Mario, who, again, in this era, cannot talk.
Yeah, he's still mute at this point.
He's still mute most of the time now, but he's non-talking Mario.
Yes. He's pantomime Mario.
And so he pantomimes everything, which is funny at first, but then it gets annoying.
Yeah.
And then
I love it. I think it's dumb and funny every time.
Every person you talk to is like, oh my God, you're Mario, you can jump. And then the whole game sits there and waits for you to press the B button. And then you do, and everyone's like, ah! So it just turns into you walking into every town. Everyone goes, oh, say the line, Bart. And then you do it, and they're like, ah!
I love it.
And of course, every problem everyone has is like, if only I could jump higher. And then you show up and they're like, whoa, you can jump higher. It's like
And it makes it even better because there are occasions where you do see NPCs jump higher than you and nobody brings any attention at all to it.
And so it's just, oh, you're Mario, you're famous, do the thing. And then Geno shows up and you're like, oh, there's an actual plot that has more to do than just saving Princess Toadstool.
Also, he has better weapons than Mario.
He does. He felt pretty strong for me well into the late game.
Yeah, he is a pretty powerful character.
But by the late game, when I was getting like ultimate weapons and armors and stuff, he kind of fell by the wayside. But it felt like Geno felt like an actual JRPG character that was dropped into this insanity and was like, no, we got to fucking do some shit to save the world and shit.
Yeah.
And then everyone goes along
basically
with
what he is.
You stop off in Moleville to get another star. You learn that there's this guy named Booster trying to impress a princess who you presume is Princess Toadstool, Princess Peach. Right. You go to Booster's tower. Mario meets up with Bowser, who just out of nowhere is like, yeah, well, you're one of my minions now, so I'm going to travel with you. And Bowser...
What? He's trying to get into the castle.
Right, he's after Peach too.
Right, and it's clear that Mario is also after Peach. So he's like, well, I can pretend that you're joining my Koopa Troop, and then I'll have to lose face for working with you.
And this is, as far as I know, another first for the Mario franchise. The first time we really get a personified Bowser.
Yes, and I love it.
It's not just a big scary guy.
In my mind, Bowser is still this version of Bowser. Every time I see him in any game, this is the personification that I see.
As a big Bowser fan, I greatly enjoyed this version of him. He was very funny. He was it was just good. Bowser was written well. He was played out well.
Yes.
I enjoyed having him in the party as a good character. I liked it a lot. I thought he added a good dynamic to this kind of otherwise overly saccharine group of characters.
Right.
Because even Gino, like, I don't know that I would call Gino saccharine, but not really.
But he is
anything...
upbeat and not very cynical in any way.
Right. And so it's nice to have someone who's kind of rude and cynical and willing
Right.
to be mean and,
Yeah.
and add some texture
Yeah.
to
Some
the
flavor.
tone. Yeah.
Right.
So that's really nice. Booster looks fucking weird as shit. A lot of the characters look fucking... Booster is basically a dumpster with a beard on it that his head hinges in half.
Yeah, I love Booster.
It's the weirdest fucking thing.
I was always upset that Booster never got as much attention as Wario. I thought that instead of Waluigi, they should have just kept using Booster as
Yeah.
Wario's partner. I thought they would have gotten along great.
Booster is kind of your nemesis for a good length of the game.
Well, just for that bit when you're trying to get Peach back.
It just feels like a long bit. It felt...
When I was replaying it this time, it just breezed by. It was a very short.
Maybe
part
I
of the game.
just dragged there or something, but it
Possibly.
felt like he got twice as much, like, of all the little set pieces of the game, because the game's very much composed of these set pieces of like, go to town, problem in town, go to related dungeon, fix problem, go back to town, buy items, go to next town. It's that very
Right.
sort of Dragon Quest-y kind of
Yes.
episodic build, right?
Right.
And Boosters just felt a little longer than the rest. He felt like he got more time. And it could have just been how I played it, I suppose. So you climb the tower.
Mm-hmm.
Booster takes Peach and leads Mario and his party to Marrymore, where he's going to marry Peach, because that's what everyone does with Peach. They kidnap her and
Right.
marry her.
Yeah.
Does she know she can say no?
Apparently not.
Like, does
Oh,
she know
no,
that if
'cause
someone's...
she did say no to Booster.
Yeah.
Like she continuously said, "I'm not going to marry you."
Yeah.
And I don't think Booster understood that was part of the marriage, so he didn't seem to care.
Booster is also somehow stupider than Mallow.
Yeah, he's the biggest idiot, and I love him.
And like, so it's jumping ahead a little bit, but there's a bunch of mini games in this game, and they're pretty bad.
Hey,
They're not.
they're all right.
They're
Like by today's standards, they're a little.
the platforming
lame.
in them is so rough.
I didn't
But-
think it was that bad.
In all the mini games, you can't fail. There's no fail state.
Right.
You can do really bad, and the game's
Yeah.
just like, oh, it's okay, buddy, and you just put the controller down for him and
Right.
still be fine.
Yeah.
But there's one where you're having to hide behind curtains
Oh yeah.
from Booster and his Shy Guy friends.
Yeah, I love that.
And they're looking for a Mario toy, and you have to run out of the way of the curtains that they're looking behind.
Yeah.
And I got caught.
Oh.
I was like right there at the end of that mini game, which is several minutes long.
Yeah.
And I get caught, and Booster's like, who's that guy? And then it restarts the entire mini game. I have to do the whole thing again.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is happening? And then finally you do come out, and he just like doesn't know who you are.
He does not care about you at all.
It's
He's,
the weirdest.
He's just looking for that Mario doll, man.
It's so fucking weird.
My favorite situation where where it changes the outcome based on your results is actually just after this when they're doing the wedding,
Yeah.
because right as they're starting the wedding, Peach gets knocked over or something, and so
Drops
she
all her
loses
shit.
all of her shit, and you have to go find her shit and then bring it to her. And if you bring it to her fast enough, she tries to give you a kiss, and Bowser runs in to try to get the kiss instead, and instead ends up kissing Mario.
Yeah.
But if you fail at it, almost the same happens, but Booster ends up kissing Mario instead. And there's also a state where both Booster and Bowser can kiss Mario. It's great. I love that scene for some reason.
I hated that scene, and here's why. I spent half an hour looking for the fucking crown.
It's on Booster's head.
Yeah, I know now. Oh my God. I was like, where the it got to a point where I was just walking in every square on the entire zone over and over and over. I was like, there's no way
Did you try looking at Booster's head?
I had to Google it, and then someone's like, it's on Booster, and I'm like, motherfucker. Like, I'm so mad.
That's why you spent so much time with Booster.
Maybe that's it. Marriage gets interrupted. Booster's, taken care of, and Peach joins Mario on his quest. I don't think
I love at the end of that like you interrupt it, you stop the wedding, you have to fight a cake because Mario reasons.
Why not?
And then afterwards, Booster's like, "What happened? What is all this?" And his assistants are like, "The wedding's over. Congratulations." He's like, "Great, we're done with this. Let's go back home." And that's his entire response.
Like, he's not even stupid. He just makes no sense. Like it feels like someone broke in and programmed him into the game. And everyone else is like, he doesn't even react to what's going on. He's a total non sequitur of a character. It's the weirdest thing. So Frogfuckiest tells the party that there might be another star in Star Hill. Where the unfulfilled wishes have fallen. You find the 4th star there. You continue on. This one was a pretty short story beat. You go to a seaside town, and you end up going into the pirate ship of Jonathan Jones, who is a shark man thing,
He's a shark
I guess.
Yeah.
You defeat him. You get another star, but in order to save the people from the seaside town of Yuridovich.
In the new version, he's called Spirovich.
Yes.
Because they want you to know he's a spear.
Yeah, so you're trying to save everyone from Spirovich, and you end up having to fight this guy.
Now you see why I did not realize he was a spear, because he used to just be called Yuridovich.
Did he not look like a spear?
Not on a Super Nintendo, he did not.
Are you saying that maybe the
Certainly not on a
Super
13-inch
Nintendo game
screen
looked bad, so you couldn't tell what they were?
Look, if I had to chronicle every Super Nintendo game where I couldn't tell what the enemies were, we'd be here all day.
You defeat Spirovich, you get another star, you go through to Land's End to Monstro Town, which is where the monsters live, which is a pretty cool zone. It's neat seeing all the monsters here. The monsters, you're sent there because you hear they have a star. It turns out it's just a dancing sea star. And they send you to Nimbus Land to get the next star, which ends up being where, guess what, Mallow is from. He's not a tadpole.
What?
In Mallow, like literally... People are like, "You are the prince of Nimbus Land." And he's like,
everybody's like, "Wow, you look a lot like the king when he was younger. It's a shame that Prince Mallow is gone." And he's like, "That's crazy that I look like their king and the prince had the same name as me." Anyway,
he's so frustratingly stupid. Like the second you walk into, the second you hear about Nimbus Land, you're immediately like, "Oh, that's where he's from. He's probably a deposed prince or king or something." And then you show up and you're like, "Oh, he definitely is that." And then 40 minutes later, he's like, "What?" Takes so long.
It's minutes after you get to the town that you can talk to the statue guy and he finds out.
You meet Valentina. She's taken over the kingdom by convincing people that a giant, fat bird named Dodo that is not dressed up like a Nimbus person. Just literally is a bird wearing a pan on his head is actually the missing Prince Mallow. So I guess it's genetic. And everyone in this kingdom is as fucking stupid as Mallow.
Dodo is also one of my favorite Mario villains of all time. Mostly because he takes out his anger by attacking statues.
Yeah. You get dressed up as a statue, you go in there, you infiltrate, you depose Valentina, you free the actual king and queen who are like, "Oh, you're our kid." And Mallow's like, "What?"
He had already learned earlier from the statue maker.
He's an idiot. You eventually learn that the star fell into a volcano, which... You get another non sequitur moment here where you've gone through a little bit to get this star. You've been through 2 zones. You still don't have a star.
Yeah.
And then you go to this volcano where out of fucking nowhere, a Power Rangers spoof occurs.
Yes.
The Axum Rangers, who are all different colors and have very Power Ranger-like poses and call-outs, show up. And it was the hardest fight in the game for me.
It is.
It's a very really tough fight. For no reason, they show up. You fight them. You get the star. I guess that was that, I suppose.
Well, they are the axe enemy for the Smithy gang.
And then you can finally go back to Bowser's Keep, where it's pretty much a straight shot through Smithy's factory to fight Smithy, and then everything's restored. There's no... I guess there's kind of... he's got a second phase. He's a 2-stage boss, There's no real twists or surprises. It's pretty much a straight shot from start to finish through there.
I think it's charming. It's not deep or sophisticated, or it's not gonna take anybody off guard. There's no plot twists or anything. But I think it's charming and cute as far as a kid-friendly RPG goes.
Pieces of the story were really interesting and fun. A lot of it was just either... I felt like the pacing was pretty poor. For being such a straight shot, there were parts where I'm like, why am I spending so much time here? And then we would rapid fire through some big segment. It'd be like nothing, 4 bosses in a row, 2 stars back to back, nothing. And it was just very weirdly paced.
There was some odd pacing.
And so it just felt that felt strange.
When I was a kid, the Axum Rangers were absolutely one of the hardest bosses in that game.
They're tough.
And for some reason, this time, I was so overleveled by the time that I reached them. I didn't even really do any grinding. I actually did way less grinding than I normally do. I was basically one-shotting each one of them when I got to them.
I mean, I don't think the story's bad. I didn't find it very interesting or engaging. Like, at best, I would say parts of it were cute. Like, that's kind of like how I feel about it. Was like, these few little bits were pretty cute, and that's kind of it. As far as presentation, the original game was very technically impressive for a Super Nintendo game.
Oh, yeah.
I don't love how it looks. I've never loved how it looks. I just don't love it.
Like, I did not care for those 3D style graphics back then. I was not a fan of polygons at all. But there was something about the charm in this game that I was willing to not necessarily forgive it, but look past that to see that there was some actual design here. And some of the characters are just great, especially Dodo. Every time he looks at the camera, I love that.
Yeah.
And there are some things that they were clearly trying to make something that was way more detailed than the Super Nintendo could show.
Oh, for sure.
And those kind of ended up looking like a garbled mess, but some of it looked really impressive on the Super NES.
It has always had a very kind of claymation look to me.
Diorama style.
Yeah. The remake is, as you would expect, kind of fully recreated HD graphics. Yeah. I like that they kept the kind of squat, weird look to everyone. I really enjoy that they kept that. I think a lot of the charm of this would have completely fallen apart.
They just use generic Mario characters.
There are some moments, like there's one moment where you're going down this stream and you go through these different caves, and it's a kind of weirdly long moment, and I was trying to figure out why the game's making me sit here and stare at this cave I'm going through full of enemies, and I think on the Super Nintendo it was supposed to be kind of visually impressive.
I always got the impression that was supposed to feel like a Disney ride. Like a ride at Disneyland where you're just going through a little tunnel watching a bunch of animatronics doing dumb shit for a minute just so you can get out the other side. That's always the vibe it gave me.
Like, I do think some of the... Like, I might not have loved how the original game looked, but it was very visually interesting, at least. And I think you lose a little bit in the remake, but I think they kept enough of it that it doesn't quite get there, but it still has some of that charm.
Yeah,
that's
it's clear that they're trying.
Weird squat. Right. Especially the weapon-based enemies and like Booster and shit look very kind of strange and creepy.
Yeah.
So I think they kept enough of it. You know?
I was really glad to see that they kept Booster opening his entire face when he eats things. That amuses me still.
The man is a trash can with a beard on the front of it that doesn't know where he is.
He's like the Muppet of Mario characters.
They added, obviously, fully rendered cutscenes that I don't believe they had on the original. I can't imagine how they would have. I didn't see any. Which are a nice touch. I like them. I think they also add kind of some... Because the game very much still uses what the original game did, which is like a lot of pantomiming and sprites just sort of sprinting back and forth to convey emotion. Right. And sometimes it just doesn't come across, and I think having the cutscenes lets you inject a little bit more kind of... physical expressiveness into some scenes.
I miss sprite pantomime. I love that kind of storytelling, and I can always get what emotion they're going for. I appreciate. I know it's not popular anymore, but I love that style.
Yeah. Let's talk gameplay.
Yeah.
As we are at time,
Fine.
This is and it's interesting. This is a pretty simple RPG, except for a couple of complications. As far as like just kind of general curve, you've got predetermined characters that gain abilities at predetermined levels. You have no real control over their abilities or the ability growth. You do get to, when they level up, choose if you get HP, magic, or physical attack stat boosts. That's an option. But beyond that, you don't really have any control over how your characters progress.
Right.
And even then, those stats didn't seem to make a massive difference for me.
No, there's always at least one that is a slightly larger boost than the other two.
Is that
I
it?
would always just go with that one.
Yeah.
But it's still a marginal boost.
I usually did it in waves. I'd be like, all right, everyone's getting HP this round. Everyone's getting physical attack this round. Everyone's getting this. Early on, some characters I missed Mallow's first weapon. So Mallow was so weak for me that I kept dumping everything into physical attacks, and it never seemed to make any discernible difference.
No. For some reason, this recent playthrough on the Switch, Mario ended up with the least HP of anyone in my party. Even Mallow had more HP than Mario, and I don't know how that happened.
Gino had my lowest HP, which was weird.
Gino and Bowser had my most HP.
Gino felt very glass cannon-y by the end of mine, so obviously maybe some differences that can be achieved through enough levels.
Yeah.
But the characters are, ability-wise, relatively static. The upgrades, each town has at least a couple of characters worth of, meaningful weapon and armor upgrades.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of this nice, even, standard JRPG curve that you would expect. Right. But on top of it, they have layered this timing system. And this is the complication. This is the thing that makes this otherwise very simple RPG interesting. Or I think at least that was the design goal. That's what I imagine they had in mind. In the original game, you could time attacks and defense, and they would give you a boost, either a slightly bigger attack or a little bit of defense against whatever you're defending against. In the remake, they've added perfect timings where you can fully block something or turn your regular attack into an AoE attack.
Right. Which made the game so much easier for me because I was barely using magic at all just because of how much damage was being done by those AoE attacks that battles were ending much faster than normal. I
reached a point where I was in the same spot where magic did so much less damage that I would only go for the physical attacks. My problem is I struggled really hard with the timing in this game. We were talking about this in the chat that we had opposite problems between this and Sea of Stars. I could never figure out the timing in Sea of Stars, but had very little problems in this. And you had the opposite problem. I think the difference is one of two things. One, I think you had the benefit of going into Mario RPG with some amount of muscle memory.
True.
Also, it I don't know. I don't know what it was. I don't know what the difference was. I found the Mario timing really confusing. I found it hard to tell when I was supposed to do different attacks. Defense in particular, I could almost never time.
Yeah, defense is much harder. And there are some enemies that I have no problem defending against. And there are some enemies that I just cannot defend against. But there are some abilities that you cannot block, which in the original, I did not know that. So I just tried to block everything. But in this, there's text on the screen that says, cannot block. And that made me feel so much better about all the years I've not been able to block those abilities.
The original game was also very opaque about when you did or didn't get. It felt like there wasn't much feedback.
Little stars come out of you.
Yeah, I don't know. I just it felt very weird.
And it plays a sound effect if you attack or block and get it in the timing in both the original and the remake.
Wow, I don't know what my problem was then. I spent Sea of Stars. I remember I spent 6 hours learning timing.
Oof.
In my 40-hour playthrough, about 6 of them was me just hunkering down like, I'm going to learn these fucking timings. I'm going to figure this fucking game out because I'm enjoying it and I want to figure them out. And I think 2 things are at play here. One, Mario RPG, I only played it for 10 hours.
Yeah.
So let's presume I spent 6 hours learning timing in Mario RPG. That's already the majority of the game.
Yeah,
so it could just be
double the game.
It could just be that I literally got in the time. I put in the hours in Sea of Stars to learn it. So there's that angle. But also, the combat puzzle of Sea of Stars was the engaging part to me that made me want to learn the timings. I really liked the lock system and how the different abilities interacted with one another to interact with the lock system. I enjoyed that to the point that I was willing to put in the hours to learn the timing. With Mario RPG, there's no other angle. It just kind of is the timing system. That's just kind of all.
It was also a revolutionary thing at the time. There weren't other games doing that in
but
96.
It wasn't revolutionary for me in 2023. It was really simple. So I struggled with the timing. I think, again, if I had put in the amount of hours, if I had felt compelled enough by the game to put in the amount of hours to get all the timings down, maybe. And the question was, would I have the issue on the original game?
Yeah.
Because I went back to it, and one, I did find timings easier. But then also, two, the new game adds the chain gauge. It tracks how many timings you've done correctly in a row.
Right.
And I something about not having it on screen made me not care about it as much in the original game. Like, I didn't care.
And they're not as mandatory as they are in Sea of Stars. In Sea of Stars, you would just get tore up if you don't time things correctly.
Yeah, Sea of Stars, you had to at least have your attacks down. If you didn't have your attacks down, you're just going to get your shit kicked in.
Yeah.
It really does want you to.
Mario does not want you to lose. I mean, you can, but it's going to try to be as easy as it can on you.
I did plenty. I lost plenty.
Man.
I found it to be... The difficulty, I don't know that it was ever really like very difficult. Some parts of it were very frustrating. Some parts of it I found kind of boring. I think the combat system in general just was not super engaging for me. I struggled hard with the timing, and since that was really the only meta system to latch onto outside of select thing from menu, watch number occur, I just kind of wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, it was fine. It wasn't bad. I was kind of annoyed with it that I couldn't figure out the timing, and some of the timings seem very strange. I also didn't love that, like, it's, I don't know. I felt like I could just never figure the timing out in it, and I'm not quite sure why. We talked about it at length.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Trying to figure out what the difference was.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just wasn't clicking with me. And by the end of the game, I got to where I could get reliably my chain up to about 5. It usually floated around between like 4 and 7. And that was high for me. By the end of the game, I could time... There are some attacks that are so obviously telegraphed that you can tell the game really wants you to time them.
Right.
And those I could time. Nothing else ever got timed.
And we didn't really talk about the new features in this one, but it does have that little exclamation point that'll show, and it's supposed to guide you as to when you hit the button.
Yeah.
And at first, it felt like it was wrong when I first started playing the game. Like, anytime that I would hit the button, then nothing would happen. But as I went on in the game, it I don't know what it was that changed in my mind, but I started to get that timing better, where if I hit the button when I saw that, more often than not, I would at least partially block the attack.
I think I figured out what was up with that exclamation point, because it felt like it was trying to show you the window. Yeah. And immediately when I saw it, I presumed in my head, oh, if I push the button while that exclamation point is on screen, it will time correctly.
Right.
And what I've learned is that's not the case. And here's how I learned it. Is there is a Yoshi Racing mini game.
Right. I hate the Yoshi Racing mini game.
You press timed buttons back and forth, A, B, A, B, A, B, according to a timing on screen. And Toad shows up and is like, hey, do you know how to play this mini game? And I said no, and they let you do a practice round.
Yeah.
I literally could not hit a single button in time.
Yeah, I've always had a problem with that on the Super Nintendo, and in this, it's a giant pain in the ass, and I just have to try it a few times until I get it.
Put it on my TV, I took it off, I changed controllers, I did everything. I was even in the chat, I was like, what the fuck is that? Is this broken? Like, this is on top of my timing struggles, right? So at this point, I'm getting frustrated. I'm like, what does this game want from me? And what it is in the Yoshi thing, I figured out what it wants is, it wants you to press the button right as it is lighting up. Not during the light up, but you need to be pressing the button at the exact same moment that it is starting to light up. And I think, and this is a big think, but I think the exclamation point, you are supposed to press the button right as it occurs. Like, you want to start the button press the millisecond before it occurs, and then if you are then pressing it by the time the exclamation point is fully there, then you have timed it.
Yeah, that's about where I was at.
Which is kind of antithetical to how button prompts work. Usually, go
I
ahead.
think what it was trying to show you was this was the window, so next time when you see this attack, you will know when this spot was.
Right. The problem is, and maybe
It's
the game
not very
told you-
helpful that time, though.
Maybe the game told me that, and I didn't notice.
No,
or
it
I
never
missed
tells you in text. No.
But that means for several hours, I'm trying to time this exclamation point. Because the way button prompts normally work in like the rest of the universe is a button prompt comes up when you need to press a button.
Right.
Not when you should have pressed a button and the time is over.
I had
So-
much better luck when I just started ignoring it.
Me too.
However, I did find it useful on the handful of things that I never learned how to block on Super Nintendo, just because the animation is weird or the timing is weird or whatever.
Yep.
Or maybe there's like 3 fake out hits before they actually hit you. And so when I saw that during the animation on this one, I was like, oh, that's when I want to hit it. And I would try it and suddenly be able to do it, which I'd never been able to do before.
I just feel like it would have been so much easier to put the exclamation point where you needed to press the button.
I don't disagree with that, no.
That's a weird design choice. I also realized my other issue with it is this, and it's that in Sea of Stars, if an attack animation occurs and you press the button preemptively, then you can still, as long as you press it during the correct window, get your block in.
That's true, yeah.
And in Mario RPG, you cannot.
Right, yeah.
It's like, no, you press the button, that doesn't count. And what that has done is 40 hours of Sea of Stars has trained me to press the button earlier rather than later, because I know that I can press it again if I missed it, right?
And there are times, depending on the attack, where you can press it a little early, so long as you didn't press it early too close to the actual press.
Yeah. So it just, the windows were a little weird, and the telegraphing of where the windows were, I think, was poorly designed.
And I think that might have been part of my problem with Sea of Stars is, 30 years of Mario RPG and Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi all requiring you to hit it exactly in that window and never early. Made me think that if I did hit it early, I'm not going to keep trying, and then I would end up just failing a lot.
No, Sea of Stars, I would multiple button presses per timing all the time. It's usually that's how I found it, right? I would start early pressing the button and then kind of work my way down the timing window till I hit it. And now in Mario RPG, I physically couldn't do that, because if I hit it early, it goes, hey, you hit the button, that was your timing, it doesn't count anymore.
Right.
And that's what created the issue. So I do think we've drilled down to where my disconnect with it was.
One thing that I did find more difficult in this remake than in the original is they added the special enemies, which were not in the original, which are random enemies that you encounter that have significantly more HP than their normal counterpart.
Yeah.
They look the same, they act the same, they just have more HP and they do more damage. And most of them, whatever, it was just a couple more hits to take out a special Koopa or Goomba or whatever. But there were a handful of enemies that are already kind of meat sponges that, when they are also a special edition, end up being harder than the boss in that area.
Yeah.
And it can really just take you off guard and throw you down in the middle of a dungeon when you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
And it's like the way that I play most JRPGs is, if I am not at a boss, I want to do only normal attacks and never any special attacks. And so when I encounter these guys and I'm trying that, I'm just getting my ass wrecked and having to heal myself over and over again. And I have to remind myself, no, this is harder than the boss. I need to actually pay attention.
Yeah. This was the game of one-hit KOs for me.
Oh man, yeah, I never had
One-hit
that, though.
KOs all the time.
There's a couple of bosses at the end that can do one-hit KOs, and those obviously hit me. But other than that, I don't know that I ever encountered a one-hit KO in this.
No, it was pretty frequent that I would end a battle with 2 people down, and I would just leave them down because they'd come up to 1 HP after the battle.
Right, yeah.
I'll tell you one thing I did really enjoy that I think was really useful for newer RPG players was a shared MP pool.
Yeah, that's always been in this game.
I love that, because you don't have to do that thing where you're like, no, I'm going to save this person's magic.
Right.
Or it's just one pool. It just comes out of one place.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost weird, like, and I hate to keep comparing it to Sea of Stars because Sea of Stars has 30 years of design
Exactly.
to pile on top of Super Mario
Right.
RPG. But
And
Sea of
also
Star-
clearly indicated this as one of its inspirations. So this is one of the games that helped that design.
Sea of Stars is a very exacting game. When I'm playing that, it feels like it's almost like fighting game level of accuracy of inputs that it wants. The upside is that when you learn those, it feels very exacting and specific. This just always felt kind of floaty and wishy-washy to me.
I have had the exact opposite reaction with those because Sea of Stars, I felt like I was doing the same thing every time and failing most of the time. And in this, I can hit pretty close to the window and it'll still give it to me, or I can hit exactly on the window and get the perfect bonus.
No, I felt like it was just the timings were
I
always
was-
weird for me in this.
Early in the game, I was pretty consistently hitting a chain of 150 to 200. And by the end of the game, I was hitting a chain like usually be between 10 and 30 most of the time.
I think the implication that in the early game you were hitting a chain of over 100 implies that you were probably struggling against a lot of muscle memory
Oh, I'm sure.
for Sea of Stars.
Yeah.
I very much think that Mario RPG might have been what ruined you for Sea of Stars.
Possibly, yeah.
But it as far as gameplay in general, is okay.
I did want to mention some of the new things in it for people
Sure.
who have not played the remake and have played the original to death, because there are plenty of us out there that haven't bought the remake yet that might want to know what's new in it. We've already talked about some of it, but there are some minor localization changes, and they added quick travel, which is awesome.
This is nice, yeah. You can
Oh,
exit
man,
any
that's so
dungeon
great.
back to the map
Yeah.
whenever you want.
So
It's
great.
It's good.
They changed the inventory system because in the original you could only have 30 items. And that was it. And it didn't matter what items they were. You could have as many as you want. You could have 30 pick-me-ups if you wanted, and that's your entire inventory. And in this, they've changed it to where you can have all the items, but there's a limit of each item.
Yeah.
So like you can have 10 mushrooms. You can have, 6 pick-me-ups, I think?
I think so. And then the extras go to the box. So
Right,
they're
like-
automatically saved.
Yeah, because there was no box in the original. So now there is also a storage box so that you don't... Because before, if your inventory was full and you got an item, you would come up to your inventory screen and be like, which item do you want to throw away? The one you just got or something you already had? And you would have to choose something in that menu. You couldn't just back out. You had to choose something and then drag it over to the trash can every time. So it was nice to have that change there.
And the easier difficulty increases your inventory
Oh, really?
as well. Yeah, it lets you hold
Nice.
more stuff. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And they changed the signal ring. One, you get it early in the game instead of right at the end.
I'm glad you talked about that stupid ring that I hate so much because
And
I would have
two, they
forgotten.
made it. There's an on-screen indication now instead of just a chime that you will totally miss if you cough when you enter a room. And so it is more useful than it used to be. And they've added a new signal ring that's in the place where the old one used to be. That is the Echo signal ring that not only gives you the on-screen indication, but then pings you as you get closer to the hidden chest so that you know exactly in the room where it is.
which is literally the only way to get them. Literally. Let me explain
No,
something. to you.
the main way to get them is to subscribe to Nintendo Power
No, thank
and
you.
get the strategy guide.
Let me tell you something.
Uh-huh.
I hate the fucking signal ring. I hate the fucking hidden chest. And here's why. I walk into a room and it says, oh, hidden chest in this room. Great. Well, I'll just take one step and jump into every single square in this entire room, and then I will get it. By the process of elimination,
Yeah.
I have to get it, right?
Fortunately, there is no useful items in hidden chests.
But no, that is not what occurs. Instead, you will jump through every single square in a room and still not get it. Because much like the platforming in the game, which outright sucks, which is a really hard thing to say in a Mario game, and there's a good amount of platforming mini games, it's hard to tell really where you're lined up with at all times.
I have no problem with that. I
have
find it pretty
problems.
easy to tell where you're lined up, just 'cause it's on a grid.
It's not, though. It's like free walking. You don't walk on a
Right.
grid.
But you can see where the tiles are.
No, I can't. So
Okay, I can see where the tiles
in
are.
Bowser's Castle, there are some platforming challenges that you go
Yes.
through, and you get
Those
10.
are tough,
You get 10 tries to go through them.
but they're optional.
Well, assuming you can get through the other rooms, right?
Right. Yeah, there's
And you have to
the
go through
combat
4 rooms.
Yeah,
And I go through the 2 combat rooms, which are
Yeah.
15 combats each.
and
I
the 2
go-
dumb question rooms.
I can't get through the 1 question room because it's asking me like what color this guy's jacket is in the fucking mole town. Like I don't
just
fucking
keep-
know.
You just keep failing it over and over again until you've learned the right answer.
Oh, that sounds so fun. That sounds so fun, Saturn.
It's more fun than falling in lava over and over again.
You get 10 tries in the platforming sections. I failed both of them at least 20 times each.
Oh, yeah, I did not. I just
I
might
can't
have dropped in once or twice.
There's an area in Nimbus Land where you have to climb these vines and jump from vine to vine. I cannot fucking line up where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah,
and they
that's-
know it's a problem because there's a sign that's like, hey, watch your shadow if you're having a hard time jumping.
Yeah.
They know it's fucking hard to tell where you're going to be.
Yeah, that is my biggest complaint right there is the vines.
There's
They
a
are
mini game
always
where you
pain
have
in
to
the ass.
jump up paratroopers up a cliff.
Yeah.
And you can go really slow, but if you do it
Right.
fast, you get a thing.
Yes.
And
I
it's
just ignore the thing. I
fucking
just do it slow.
impossible to do that, to jump
I do
that.
it really slow and just take my time on that one because
Yeah, and then
that's-
don't get the thing.
That's the really weird thing about this game is it has all these challenges that you can do. They're game imposed challenges where you'll get a prize if you do something, and the prize is usually useless. There's no good reason to force yourself into these things. It's all about bragging rights. Now we were
Well,
talking about the
there's
hidden
There's
chests.
2 problems here. Is one,
Mm.
I don't know that. I'm not
Right,
following
exactly.
the guide. I don't know what's there. For all I know, it's a secret weapon or some shit.
No,
I have no
nothing.
idea. The game doesn't telegraph that. It's not like,
Right.
hey, it's just junk. Who cares? And then
That's-
2, obviously, if a game's like, hey, try to do this thing, I'm gonna try
Right.
it. I'm not just
Yeah.
gonna be like, no, I won't.
Right.
Like,
No,
yeah,
I-
I'm gonna try it.
I did that a lot when this game first came out, and it made me hate certain areas of this game to the point where now I skip them, and
Well, you hate
it's a
those
much
areas
better game.
because they suck and they're poorly made.
Now, I will say the hidden chests you were complaining about. Do you know what the prize is if you get all of the hidden chests?
I have no idea.
There's a guy in Monstro Town that will tell you how many chests you're missing.
Yeah, I've talked to him.
And
34.
if you get all of them and you talk to him again, he says you found them all.
Awesome.
I
don't know that. So and I think this is, I wonder, because I mean, I guess we can talk reception, then we'll get into final thoughts.
Right.
This game was pretty well regarded.
Yeah.
I don't think it sold amazingly well.
Oh,
I think it sold
forgot
okay.
to mention new stuff. It also lets you change party members in battle, which is really neat.
Yeah.
I like that.
I
and there's
would,
a
I
new-
would have
new
not been
super
able to
bosses,
finish
too.
the game without that because it was way too hard if I was not able to swap out my people.
I did finish the super bosses. Some of them are kind of cheap, but once you learn their timing, they're doable. But man, are they cheap!
So let's talk reception, then we'll get into final
Mhm.
thoughts because I think that's
Yeah.
where we're kind of careening into.
Yeah.
It sold pretty good.
Yes.
It wasn't. I don't think it was like incredible. It wasn't like gangbusters. But
Yeah, it was.
up
It was
there.
pretty gangbusters.
Was it?
Yeah. I've got it all in the notes here too.
Well, tell me of
s-
them.
So one, it had an 89 average on Game Rankings before Game Rankings went away. It sold 1.47 million copies in Japan. It was the 5th highest selling game of the year in Japan. The only games that outsold it were Resident Evil, the Dragon Quest III remake, Tekken 2, and Pokemon. The US version, Nintendo of America, initially only shipped 300,000 units to stores, thinking that it would only sell 200,000 initially and that those 100,000 would be overstock. And it sold out instantly. It
well, shit.
was the 6th highest selling game of the year in the US, behind Mario 64, Donkey Kong Country 2, Donkey Kong Country 3, Madden 97 for PS1, and Wave Race.
I can't forget Madden 97.
Yeah, Madden always sells real well.
I always
and
assumed this was middling to have not released in Europe whatsoever.
the reason it did not release in Europe is because of the localization. They did not want to translate it into that many languages because by the time they would have, it wouldn't have released until 97, which is the
Ooh.
year Final Fantasy VII came out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they needed to get it done quickly, and they just couldn't. So despite not even releasing in Europe, it was the 4th best-selling game worldwide in 96, behind Mario 64, Tekken 2, and Resident Evil 1.
Yeah.
And that's it. Keep in mind, this was a Super Nintendo game, 4th highest-selling game of the year, behind one N64 game and 2 PS1 games. And it
And
was
the remake seems to be getting equally praised. We don't have sales
Yep.
numbers, obviously.
Right, yeah, we don't have sales yet. I did like that Nintendo Power nominated it for Best Graphics of 96, and it lost that to Super Mario 64, which feels unfair.
So, I want to talk about the Metacritic reviews for this game because I don't think it was a bad game.
No, it's a fine game.
But whenever I have complaints, the responses I've gotten from you are just haven't memorized and already have muscle memory. And that's fair. There's some
My
games
response
that
is- My response is use a strategy guide because this is an old JRPG, much like Dragon Quest III, which you also used a strategy
but
guide.
as a game that is supposed to be a first-time RPG for first-time RPG gamers,
Mhm.
I think even in 1996 there were much better choices.
Yeah,
There were games
well,
that if someone was like, "Hey, I want to get into RPGs, what should I play?" I don't know, man. And
I might have pointed them towards this just because, like there are some frustrating things, but you're still going to be able to finish this game even with those frustrating things in half as much time as it would take you to even figure out Final Fantasy IV, or Final Fantasy VI, or something like that.
I just I read through the Metacritic reviews because it's scoring like an 84, which is very high score. Or Open Critic is what I was looking at. I think it was equally like 84, 85.
Yeah.
And a lot of the reviews have a lot of issues that they list. And then they're like 99 out of 100. I have 15 negative bullet points. And I realized that this is one of those games that I think people are struggling to separate it from the nostalgia.
Yeah, I would say that this remake, I'd probably give it a 7.5, give or
Yeah.
take, just because
In the context of 2023.
right, yeah, because it does hold real close to the original, for better or worse,
Yeah.
and
Which, to be fair, a lot of times it is for better, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's also very much for worse.
right, and there were some things they easily probably should have modernized, and they didn't. But I can also see that there could have been huge fan backlash if they had from those people who do have 30 years of muscle memory that just wanted the same game again. So it's a tightrope to walk. It's who do you think is going to buy this? Is it the old people or young people? And I think that their market research probably told them it was the old people.
It's a hard pill to swallow to have Nintendo in 2023 release a Mario game with bad platforming for me. And I know that that's a weird hill to die on. It's very strange.
I don't think it's as bad as you think it is, though.
I had a hard time platforming. Like, I could not jump those fucking turtle shells to save my life.
I played a
could
lot of
not do
isometric
it.
games back then, so maybe that's the difference.
Maybe I'm not
on-
British enough. They love those isometric games over there. I mean, it's
'Cause
another
there was-
weird. It
There
should
were
have
a
come
lot
out
of
over
games
there.
that I had on NES and Super NES and Genesis that were isometric. So I played a lot of isometric games with platforming. So I guess maybe I just learned how to deal with it.
But it's one of those things where, and I guess this is getting into final thoughts, is that I think this is a fine game to play over a weekend if you're kind of bored and are curious about it for not $60. Because this is my issue, is that I agree. I think there are definitely some still very charming parts about this game. I think it's an okay RPG. And I mean that in the literal sense. I don't think it's an amazing RPG, but I also don't think it's really a bad one. I think it's okay. But for $60 for full price Switch game, I don't know, man. I felt like this should have been $40. Like, in like $40 for a game that you're going to finish in a weekend. That feels good, I feel like if it knocked $20 off the price, I'd feel a lot better about it. Now, granted, I have the misfortune of playing it hot on the heels of Sea of Stars, which is I adored that game. Which gave me a lot of expectations about what RPGs like this should be like, and also was one of the more engaging RPG combat systems I've had the pleasure of enjoying, and going to something from that to something like this, which feels 30 years old. And I know that, yes, in 1996 it was a big deal, but it's not $1996 anymore, and if we're going to pretend it is, maybe charge me $1996 instead.
Oh, it was $80 in 1996.
Oh, yeah, I think this game's a ripoff.
And when you adjust it for inflation, it would have been 100 and some odd.
For 100 and some odd, I'd be like, yeah, that's a ripoff. Buy a different RPG. I would
the hell out of it.
I would
played
straight
so
up
much
say
this
that.
game. I think I played it 2 or 3 times back to back when it first came out.
I think for 10 hours, it's fine. If it was twice as long, I think I would have really disliked it. I think it would have overstayed its welcome because I just don't think there's enough meat on those bones.
I'm going to have the opposite opinion of you because, one, I agree that there are setbacks, there are problems with it. I probably would review the remake as like a 7.5 just because, as far as modern gaming goes compared to modern games, yeah, it's not. It's nowhere near.
To be clear, I don't think that my number out of 10 is much different than that.
No.
It was okay 10 hours.
But where I'm going to disagree with you on is Sea of Stars made me think that I'm bad at video games. It made me think that I don't have ability. It was the most frustrating, irritating battle system I've played in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think that I was getting too old to play video games and that I just didn't have the ability to handle video games anymore. And then I play this and I'm getting 100 plus chain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm realizing that no, there is some disconnect between me and the game.
Mm-hmm.
And this made me feel better about myself. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I am still at least capable of repeating motions like a monkey. I can do this still, as long as it is the correct product. But it is charming. It is comfort food in video game form. I also agree that it's overpriced, but so is the Link's Awakening remake, and we both
Also true,
gave that a pass.
That's because that's such a good game. That was like a 9 out of 10 game for me. Easy. Easy. Loved that remake. Wish they fixed the fucking frame rate.
Yeah, see, that's my
played
thing.
the shit out of that game.
I would give that remake possibly a similar score to this one. The original games I would give a similar score to as well. They'd both be about a 9. Anyway, but that one was originally a $30 game that is now selling for $60, and this was originally an $80 game that is now selling for $60. I still think they're both overpriced at $60.
Yeah.
But at least this one is not selling for more than the original one sold for.
I do wonder, had we not just both been hot off the heels of Sea of Stars,
Yeah.
I wonder if I would have felt more positive about this and you would have felt more negative.
I don't know that I would have felt negative about it because the complaints that I have about it, I think would have been the same complaints.
Right. Well, I was speaking more to your point of saying that this made you feel better. This was the game where you got to feel
True.
like you came home to your capabilities
Right.
of playing games, and if maybe that bit of comfort wasn't there and my bit of discomfort wasn't there, maybe it would have played out differently. Because, we are really right on the heels of Sea of Stars. That was, a month ago? It was early November?
That was like 3 months ago.
It was not 3. There's no way. Oh, my God.
It was September is when that came out.
Jesus Christ.
Now, I had also found myself actually laughing at some of the dialogue in this, which
Okay.
I didn't think I would just because, I've played it 1,000 times and
Yeah.
I should know all that dialogue. But there were still a couple of moments where, I found myself kind of chuckling or laughing at it just because it's dumb and ridiculous. So
Yeah.
I do appreciate that it still has that charm for me, even almost 30 years later.
I would love to hear from someone who has no nostalgia like me for this game. Because interestingly enough, we had a thread in our Discord,
Yeah.
and 2 other people were pretty active in it. And one person was with you. They'd played the original to death,
Yeah.
and they were really enjoying it. And another person showed up, like me, having never
Yeah.
really played the original, and was like, yeah, I don't know. It's okay, I guess. It's not like bad. It's just not super fun.
Right.
And I wonder how much, and I mean, like you're saying, like, I don't think it's the incorrect choice to cater exclusively to the nostalgia audience for a
Right.
product like this. But I wonder how other people who have no nostalgia of this
Right.
game would take it, because I have none at all.
And I also wonder those same people how they would have taken the Super Nintendo game right now if this hadn't been released. Those same people, if you or somebody else had just gone to play the Super NES game right now, would you have judged it as harshly?
Yeah. And you can tell us in our Discord. We have Discord, and there's links in the show description. And you can also go to our Patreon at patreon.com/Retro Warriors and hear us talk about, what was it, Ghost Dookies?
Yeah, there were some ghost dookies.
So was that what the discussion?
Some
and
spooky dookies.
Spooky Dookies and Stargate. That's what the
Yeah.
discussion was all about. I will
Yeah.
say I'm sad that Guy didn't play Super Mario RPG because he was really hot on Sea of Stars
Yeah.
and I think had nostalgia for Mario RPG. So I really was interested to see how he landed on it, but I don't think he's
Yeah.
gotten around to it yet. So that was kind of, I was thinking he was going to split the difference again. You know what I mean?
We'll find out. Yeah.
You can also get Talking Wizards and uncut versions of this show and just other shit. There's other shit there. You can go look at it on the website because you have the power, because you have the internet, because you're listening to us. Unless someone put it on a tape and gave it to you and you're listening to your
And you're listening to Analog Retro
tape
Warriors.
of it. Yeah. We do want to thank the following patrons for their kind donations, starting with Nicholas Grind,
And Clover.
Ruark,
B-Rad 1978.
Chase Deanda.
Abe Lincoln. Oh, the
Oh,
president.
wow. Abe Lincoln.
No,
Do
I said, hey,
130
Blinken.
Oh. Do 138.
Loco Mojo.
Daniel Pollock
And Craig Cargill.
are all the patrons we want to thank for their very kind donations, or maybe aggressive donations. Maybe they hit the button and they were like, fuck you. I don't know. I assume it was done in kindness, but we really have no way to know the intent behind the people that
What was it you kept calling Frog Fuchsius earlier?
frog fuckiest.
That's right.
Yeah, maybe they're doing it frog fuckiest style where they're
Right.
weirdly aggressive about it. Yeah, I'm interested to see because I feel like we have had several episodes lately where we've landed very obtuse to
True.
one another on
Yeah.
video games, and I'm curious. I think maybe it's just because doing a lot more RPGs.
That's true.
Although I think we both landed in the same place on like Chrono Cross. I think we both kind of ended
Yeah.
up in the same
Yeah.
general area. And then maybe also Dragon Quest 3. I remember enjoying that, but
I love that game.
it's just been a minute. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week. And as always, let us
Let
cling
us cling
together.
together.